Hi folks, Klaus here from Guitarhabits. Today we're gonna learn the 8 most important guitar chords for beginners. If you wanna learn to play songs, you really gotta have these 8 chords under your fingers. We got C major, A major, G major, E major, D major, and 3 minor chords, E minor, A minor, and D minor. So let's dive in and let's do this. We start with the C chord, also called C major chord. Before we do that, we want to go through the strings. So here we got the first string, it's called the high E string. The second string is the B string. The third string is the G string. The fourth string is the D string. The fifth string is the A string. And the sixth string is the low E string. So we got a high E string and a low E string. If you want to play the C chord, we start with the first finger and we place it onto the second string. That's the B string. You're right just before the fret starts. So here, this vertical metal strip, you don't want to place it on the fret, but just here, right before it. And then you also want to make sure you place the very tip of your fingers on the strings and bend your knuckles. You want to bend that knuckle nice and easy. Then the second finger is going on to the fourth string on the D string, second fret. Again, place it just right there, positioned right there. Not here, but there. Just before the fret starts. And then again, place the very tip of your second finger onto the string and bow that knuckle. Third finger. It's quite a stretch now, especially when you're just starting out, but that's going to get better and better. Third string on the A string, it's the fifth string, the A string, third fret. Again, place it right there. And then you want to, with the strumming hand, you want to strum all the strings, but you don't want to play the low E string, just the higher fifth strings. Just like that. You can use a pick like this and then strum those strings. Or use your thumb like that. It's giving you a more softer, warmer sound. Or you can place your index finger and your thumb just against each other, and then with the nail of your index finger to get some more attack. Like that. Okay. So that's the C chord right there. C major chord. You also want to watch out that if you press the string, you want to make sure your finger isn't touching or muting the string below. So when you're going with your third finger on the A string, you want to make sure it's not here touching the D string that's right underneath it, because you won't hear that sound. So when you got that C chord, you want to go through every string, just like that. Check every string to see if all the notes sound clean and clear. And when you're starting out, sometimes you're not pressing hard enough, so some strings will sound like this. If you touch that A string right here and you hear that humming sound, you want to press it a little bit harder. Just try. With the very tip of your finger, try harder, press and then you will hear, hey, that sounds a lot better. And you move on to the next, to the D string. And maybe you hear like this. Again, press it a little bit harder. Make sure your fingers are all your knuckles are bent nice and easy. And you place the very tip of every finger onto the string. And that not one finger is touching another finger or another string. So you want to go through all the strings nice and easy. And it takes some time. Again, this takes time. Sometimes in the beginning you have 2 or 3 strings like ringing clearly, and then the second string is, oh darn, and then you gotta press it. Check that string. Look which string is, you're touching the B, and you're looking, oh, that B string is going right here up to the first finger. So check that finger. What is that finger doing? Is it on the fret? If it's here on the fret, then you will hear this. You want to have it just right before. Press the very tip again and again. I will repeat that because it's so important. So, again, bend your knuckles, press with the very tip of your finger, and make sure your finger isn't touching any other string. Your thumb is going right here. Your thumb is going right here behind the neck. Don't place it like that, but just right here. Make sure that you can move your fingers more like that. Okay. That counts for every chord. So this took a little long to explain, but these tips are very important to get going with the other chords as well. So that's the C chord. Don't touch or play the low E string. With this chord, you just want to play the higher 5 strings. And we'll go on to the A major chord. A major chord, you can play it in many ways. There are different guitar players who play it in different ways. Just, I will give the first example how I play it. I play it with my second finger on the D string, 2nd fret. I place my third finger on the G string, 2nd fret, and my forefinger, my pinky, on the B string, 2nd fret. You have to place all those fingers in one fret, like here. You have to get all in there, and you have to really squeeze them together a bit to make that happen. In the beginning, and that's why I use these fingers, because if you can also use your first 3 fingers, that's the traditional way, but they're just a little bigger. So if you use these 3, they're a bit smaller. So I also, you can also use your first finger on the D string, 2nd fret, and your second finger on the G string, 2nd fret, and your third finger on the B string, 2nd fret. That's how you also see it a lot. So that's one option. I use it with the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th finger. And just like the C chord, you don't want to play the low E string, the 6th string, just the higher 5 strings. Okay. Again, press with the very tip of your fingers. Make sure all your knuckles are bent. You don't touch the metal strip, the vertical metal strip right there. You want to get them just nice and easy on the strings. Okay. A third way to play this A major chord is also sometimes how you see it. First finger on the G string, 2nd fret. Second finger on the D string, 2nd fret. And your third finger on the B string, 2nd fret. That's another way of playing it. And there's no good or bad way. It's just how things were taught to you. And you can play it in all the different ways. I prefer this way. So we got a C major chord. And we got the A major chord. Again, go through all the strings. Make sure each one is sounding nice and clean. If you hear the humming, Make sure, where does that string go? It goes here on the second finger. Okay, so press it a little bit harder. And often what you see is that with the high E string, you hear that. And usually that means your forefinger is touching the high E string. So again, if the thumb is here up too high, lower the back down behind the neck. So you see, now there's more space to move. You can move that hand, just lift it a bit, and then you can lift your fingers and you hear that high E string. Okay, C and A, onto the third chord, the D major chord. We start with our first finger on the G string, second fret. Your second finger on the high E string, second fret. And your third finger on the B string, third fret. Make sure your fingers are as close to the fret as possible. So when you're placing those first two fingers right here, it's easier. When they're closer to the fret, it's easier to put your third finger right there on the B string. With the D chord, you don't want to play the low E and the A string. You just want to play the higher four strings. Very tips of your fingers pressing the strings. And the fingers, the knuckles are bent nice and easy. And again, what is really common is that you don't hear that second finger on the high E string. You hear that because the third finger is touching that high E string. So again, thumb behind the back and lift those fingers up a bit. It takes time. You will not get all these chords in one go. It takes days and sometimes weeks before everything is sounding clean and clear. It's okay. Don't worry about that. Just keep practicing. We move on. We got C, A, D. Now we go to the E chord. E major chord. First finger on the G string, first fret. Second finger on the A string, second fret. Third finger on the D string, second fret. With the E chord, the E major chord, you can play all the strings. Very tip of your fingers. Make sure your finger is as close to the fret as possible right there, so you can place your second finger more easily and your third finger. Bend your knuckles, thumb behind the back. Lift those fingers up a bit so you don't touch any underlying strings. And we got the E chord. Again, go through the first chords, the C chord, the A chord, the D chord, and now the E chord. And now we go to the G chord. G chord also, there are more ways to play that. What I see most is people playing it like this. So I will give that example first. So we start with our first finger on the A string, the fifth string, second fret. Our second finger on the low E string, third fret. And your third finger onto the high E string, third fret. With the G chord, you can play all the strings. Just like with the E major chord, G major chord is the same. You can play all the strings. The second way, it's the same chord, especially except you play it with the 3 other fingers. So how I play it is starting with my second finger on the A string, 2nd fret, 3rd finger on the low E string, 3rd fret, and my 4th finger, my pinky, on the high E string, 3rd fret. And I've got my reasons for that, because when you're going from a G chord to a G7, it's easier to switch between those chords. But all has its positives and negatives, because when you play this chord with the first fingering, it's more easily to play another chord, and so on, so on. So it's, again, it doesn't matter. You can play it with your first 3 fingers, the G chord, or with your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th finger. It's what you want, and just choose one. And when the longer you play, you want to have them both. So you just start with one chord, and once you're playing more songs, you want to get the other one as well. So it's no problem. Just choose one. So G major chord. We got C. We got A major. 3rd chord, D. 4th chord, E major. And the 5th chord, G major. Major, those are all happy chords. They're all nice, happy sounding chords. Okay, so you really want to get those down. So now we're moving on to the minor chords. We got E minor, A minor, and D minor. So first, put your 2nd finger on the A string, 2nd fret, and your 3rd finger on the D string, 2nd fret. With the E minor chord, you can play all the strings, just like with the E major. Also with E minor, play all the strings. Make sure you place the very tip of your fingers on the strings, bend your knuckles, and just go through all the strings one by one. Make sure each string is sounding clean and clear. The E minor is one of the most easy chords out there. It's the most favorite chord. Okay, then the A minor chord. 1st finger on the B string, 1st fret. Place your finger as close to the fret as possible with the very tip of your fingers. Then your 2nd finger on the D string, 2nd fret, and your 3rd finger on the G string, 2nd fret. With the A minor chord, don't play the low E string, just the higher 5 strings. So with the A minor chord, it's the same as with the A major chord, just the higher 5 strings. So you hear A major of A minor, it sounds a bit sad. It's a bit moody. A major, it's happy. You want to have fun. A major, you're crying out in the rain. You're feeling sad and lonely. E minor, the same. See, those are sad chords. Moody, but sometimes moody is nice. I know a lot of minor songs that really are my favorites. So, okay, D minor chord. 1st finger on the high E string, 1st fret. 2nd finger on the G string, 2nd fret. And your 3rd finger on the B string, 3rd fret. With the D minor chord, you only want to hear the higher 4 strings. You don't want to play the low E in the A string. So just touch the strings right there. Just those higher 4 strings. It's the same as with the D major chord. Also, only the higher 4 strings. D minor. D major, happy. D minor, moody. Okay, we got all 8 chords. We got here, starting with the C major. don't play the low E string. A major, don't play the low E string. E major, play all the strings. D, just the higher 4 strings, don't play the low and the E string. Excuse me. G, you can play all the strings. E minor, all the strings. A minor, just the higher 5 strings, not the low E string. And D minor, the higher 4 strings, don't play the low E and the A string. And now for an exercise. 2 exercises are important. If you play your C major chord, just strum down 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then play the A major chord. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just 4 down strums on each chord. E, 1, 2, 3, 4. Normally I play like here with my, how do you see that? Normally I play here with the at the hole of the guitar, but I'm now showing you so it's easier to see in front of the screen. So you're not going like, why is he playing with his hand on the fretboard? So just that you know. Okay, just go through every chord, 4 strums on each chord. Go through all 8 of them. And then that's exercise number 1. Exercise number 2, go through each string. So you play a C chord and then go through every string. Make sure you hear each note clean and clear. If you hear a humming or a buzz, make sure you press your string a bit harder so you really hear that note ringing out. And make sure you don't touch any underlying strings like that. Lift your fingers a bit. Bend your knuckles. Place the very tips of your fingers onto the strings. That's it. Okay, and then A major chord. Go through all the strings. E major chord. D, G, E minor, A minor, D minor. So it's then switching between the chords. In the beginning, it's just like really you're struggling to get those fingers right there, and you're struggling to get the sound of out of the chords. It's normal. It's just the beginner phase. It takes days and weeks before you manage to really get those sounds really nice and to really get the switching between the chords going a bit. So don't worry about it. Really, just take it one step at a time. And then switch randomly between chords. E, and then G, D minor. And it goes like that. It's not going like this. And then you play 3 chords at once. It goes like one finger and then searching, and the next finger and searching again, and for the next finger. That's how it's supposed to be. And then the second finger, A chord. So just learn to switch between those chords. And then once you're able to strum 4 times and you get a little bit comfortable with that, play 2 strums for each chord. Go C, 1, 2, and then go on to D as fast as you can. 1, 2, and then E as fast as you can. 1, 2. So the strumming exercises do that to make the switching going more easily, and then the exercises by really going through each note. Make your subconscious mind know how to play your fingers, how to press your fingers and touch them the right way onto the strings. Okay, so I hope you really got a lot out of that. It's important. I emphasize those fingers, that pressing the strings with the very tip of your fingers and the bend of the knuckles, your fingers right behind the neck, all that stuff. It gets you crazy, but those are the most important things to really get those sounds clean and clear and not touching the underlying strings, you know. And again, I said a million times, it takes time. Be patient with this. It comes when it comes, so don't worry about that. Just enjoy the process and practice these chords, and you can play a million songs, and that's gonna be great. So first learn these chords, and then take a song, and we're going to learn some beautiful songs. And subscribe if you want to learn songs and more chords. Okay, I see you next time.